What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenna Smith. And today, on the day that I'm recording this, it is December 19th, okay? Which means not only are we 6 days away from Christmas, we are also 4 days away from me becoming 29, almost 30. Stone always reminds me about that. But more importantly, we are 11 days away from 2024, from a new year. And, I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions, and there's no secret there. I feel like a lot of people who are in the fitness industry, who are in the personal development space, they're not really huge fans of New Year's resolutions. Some of them even judge New Year's resolution people, which I'm not one of those people, because in my opinion, if you're out there and you're trying to better yourself, then why should you be judged for it? It shouldn't matter when you do it, right? If you're doing it during the new year, because that's when you're going to find an excuse to start, well, fuck yeah. I'm proud of you for actually starting, because some people don't even start, whether it be a new year or a Monday or a new week or a new month. Some people just continue to complain and remain complacent. And the reality is nothing changes if nothing changes. So then they just kind of settle for a life of mediocrity. Now, so many people hate New Year's resolutioners. I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions, but I am a huge fan of people setting a goal and taking action to become a better version of themselves. And the reality is that the new year is an excuse for a lot of people to get started. There's a lot of new year energy. You just came off of a couple months where most people overindulge, or they don't necessarily pay attention to their fitness. Maybe they take it easy on their career. It's kind of like we go into a little bit of a vacation mode, a lot of us, right? And then you come into this new year and there's that new year energy. There's that inspiration, that motivation everywhere. And while, again, not a huge fan of relying on motivation, you can't ignore the fact that motivation is a real thing. However, people rely on it too heavily to their downfall. Because then they're always waiting for, when I get motivated, that's when I'll start. Or I'm going to do this because I'm motivated to do it now. Or they set such unrealistic goals when they're in a super motivated state. And those super unrealistic goals are not happening when they're not motivated. Which is why it's so important to build the skill of discipline, right? Because the skill of discipline is going to take you further than motivation ever will. Motivation's like that friend who cancels their plans at the last second and leaves you hanging. Don't let motivation run your life. But really the thing I wanted to talk about today was how you don't have to wait for the new year to start something. And I wanted to share my journey and my story with a moment in my life, and I like to call it a defining moment. A defining moment in my life that caused me to change everything that I was doing, because I was moving towards rock bottom, if not already hit it. And you don't need to hit rock bottom for you to make a change. But you do have to have a moment where you say enough is enough. And for everybody, that's going to look differently. For some people, that could be as extreme as you going to the doctor and your doctor saying, hey, look, if you don't get your nutrition and your fitness, if you don't lose weight, if you don't get healthier, you're going to die. Some people, that's their enough is enough moment. Other people, they have a moment where maybe they walk up the stairs and they get a little winded and they're like, fuck, why am I so winded from walking up the stairs? And that's kind of like their enough is enough moment. Or another example that I know a lot of people can relate to is that you have a picture of yourself taken at an event, like say it's a Christmas party, you have a picture of yourself, and you see that picture that somebody posted on social media, and you're like, oh my gosh, do I actually look like that? I really let myself go. And no matter what your enough is enough moment is, it doesn't matter, because what matters is that you're emotionally tied to it, and that you find something within it that allows you to take action and grow. Motivation's never going to do that. But I wanted to share my enough is enough moment, my defining moment from when I was really struggling with my first eating disorder. Now, there were multiple times within my journey of an eating disorder that I regressed, that I relapsed. However, none of it was as bad as that first time. Because after the first time when I had this moment, that's when I realized, like, whoa, this is real. Like, I could actually die from this. And at the time, I was honestly in a state of mind where I was almost okay with the fact that this disorder would kill me. And with my second relapse is when I actually said to myself, like, I'm okay if this kills me. Like, I almost accepted that it probably would and that I wouldn't be able to see another year. And I want to tell you this story because, one, I want you to understand that no matter how dark things seem in life, the sun always shines after the darkest of days. It's super cliche, but it's also super true. No matter how hard of a day you've had, you've woken up the next day and you've gotten moving, right? No matter how many bad days you've had, and I hate saying the word bad days, but no matter how many really challenging days that you've had in your life, you're completely undefeated on all of those days because you're here. You've made it. So all of that pain, all of that struggle, all of that suffering that you're going through or that you have gone through is temporary. And that's something that I want you to understand because so many people make permanent decisions based on temporary situations. The second reason why I want to tell you this story is because I want you to understand that my defining moment, this moment where I decided to change, it was in the middle of June. And I think it was on a Thursday or a Friday. It definitely wasn't on a Monday. So that just goes to show you that not only do you not have to wait for the new year to make a change, but you also don't have to wait for a Monday to make a change. You don't have to wait for the first of the month. You can make a change right now. It's 8 p.m. almost on a Tuesday. And if I want to change my life, I can change my life by just taking action towards it. It's small things done consistently over time that are going to compound to create the change that you're after, but it all starts with that one step to take action. Some people don't ever get there. So let me paint the picture for you before we get into what that defining moment was. Now, when I was a freshman in college, I started going to college in St. Francis College, which is in Brooklyn. I was commuting from where I was living at the time, which was my hometown, Rockaway Beach, New York, in Queens, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours of a commute on the subway and the bus from where I lived, which was in my grandma's house on the third floor apartment with my mom, to college. And during my freshman year, it was a really stressful year because originally I went into college and I was like, I'm going to major in criminal justice because I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I wanted to be a cop. And then I was like, I don't know what I want to be. And then I was kind of like, well, do I want to be a vet? And then I was like, you know what? I really like this fitness and nutrition thing. So they have this major called health sciences. Let's do that, you know? They didn't have like a exercise science or a specific nutrition degree, but based on the description of the health science degree, it was like, okay, this is exactly what I want. Exercise physiology, all of that good stuff is in there. And it's going to allow me to do the career that I want to do, which at the time was, hey, I want to be a personal trainer. I want to continue to thrive in this area because I love fitness. I love nutrition. I fucking love helping people. And at that time, I was becoming obsessed with my love for fitness and nutrition, where I was exercising stupid amounts. And when I say stupid amounts, it started off where I had never been to the gym at this point in my life. Like I never worked out in a gym, like maybe once or twice with a friend, you know, but I always felt super uncomfortable doing it. So I started working out back when I was in high school through running, through basketball, through cross country, but also through doing home workouts and utilizing Beachbody programs like P90X, Insanity, Insanity Asylum, Insanity Asylum 2. I just liked all those crazy ones because I'm a fucking psychopath. But I did all those programs and it got to the point where I wasn't satisfied with just doing one workout a day. So during the Insanity Asylum program, I think that's like the second one they came out with, they had like another option where you could just do like the program the way it's laid out, or you could do on the other side of the calendar was you could do like double days and stuff where you're like really going all in. You're doing like plyometrics in the morning and you're doing legs in the evening and you're doing abs in the afternoon. And I was like, oh fuck, I want to do this. And it slowly started to build. And it was like, okay, I'm doing 2 a day. And then it was like, okay, I'm doing 3 a day. And then I got to the point where I was doing 4 or 5 Insanity or P90X workouts every single day. And I was also walking like 20 to 30,000 steps with my commute, living in the city, or not living in the city, but going to school right outside the city, doing all the things, exploring the city and stuff like that. But I was doing so much and I was eating less and less. So trying to remember exactly, but I mean, it's pretty vivid to me, like my typical day of eating, because I'm a creature of habit. Even to this day, like I eat the same damn thing every single day because I know it works for me. And I add a little bit of variety when it comes to just like my micronutrients through supplementation. Or if I'm like feeling a different fruit or veggie, I'll fit that in. But generally, I stick with the same foods because I know they taste good. I look forward to them and they work for me. And I always did that. I was always a creature of habit ever since I really got into nutrition. Before that, I don't remember shit. But I had a terrible diet growing up. I was like fast food, crap food, like give me all the processed crap. But when I started really focusing on my nutrition and fitness, when I started like these P90X programs, that's when, I did really well and I lost a good amount of weight and I lost a little bit of body fat that I needed to lose. And then it started getting really bad because that became the outlet for all of the other things that I couldn't control in my life. So right at that time, between my junior and senior year of high school is when my parents got separated and when we were at the height of my dad's drug addiction. So after that, we moved to New York from North Carolina. We originally lived in New York, moved to North Carolina when I was in 8th grade, and then we moved back when I was a senior in high school. And during that entire senior year, I was dealing with a lot of autoimmune stuff, so I wasn't really able to really control anything when it came to working out or nutrition because I didn't have the energy. I didn't have anything. I was just so sick. And then I started to get better, and I realized, all of this stress in my life, I can't control that. But what I can control is how I eat and how I move. How much I eat, how much I move. How little I eat, how much I move. And it started really just getting out of hand to the point where when I was at my height, right before this defining moment, I vividly remember this. I would do a couple of those insanity workouts in the morning. My mom went to work. I would do some of those. At this point, it was the summer, right? Because I said this defining moment happened in June. So it was between my freshman and my sophomore year of college. And I remember vividly, I would do those workouts in the morning, a couple. And then I would have a scoop of protein in water with ice. And then I would have half a banana on the side because I couldn't have a full banana. And it's funny to think about that because now, today, I've had 2 bananas. It's funny. But that would be my breakfast and my post-workout meal. At least I was getting in fast digesting protein and carbs. Not enough. But fast forward, I don't know, a couple hours, my mom would come home from work for her lunch break because she worked pretty close. And I remember she would cook me chicken and usually either just steamed vegetables or I would have like a little sweet potato. And I usually, if she gave me sweet potato, I wouldn't eat that much of it because carbs, scary. But I would have basically chicken and vegetables most days. Maybe a little bit of sweet potato if I was feeling crazy. And then for my snack, I would usually have chicken and like carrots. Super simple. If I even had that, sometimes I would just have like a protein bar. And then for my dinner, it would be just like a big ass salad, right? So really nothing. And I got to the point where sometimes for my dinner, I would have like an apple because I wasn't hungry. Meaning I didn't want to eat because I thought I was overweight, which is wild to look back on. If you've ever struggled with an eating disorder and you're like in the depth of it and you look at photos and you're like, oh my gosh, I was so sick. But you think back to the moment when that photo was taken and you remember thinking, wow, I was so fat in that photo. It's crazy what the mind can do, especially when it's under so much stress from undereating and overtraining. And really, I did all of this because I wanted to control something, like I said. But there was a moment where I started to realize that my cousins weren't talking to me. which was weird because we were really close. My brother wasn't really talking to me. My grandparents weren't really talking to me. And my mom was kind of just being weird. Everybody was being weird is kind of how I remember it. And now looking back, I know why they were being weird, because I was literally killing myself, and I was to the point where I was so skinny, but like I didn't know that. Like I didn't know. I was fucking blind to it. And I remember we were celebrating my grandpa's birthday, which is on Flag Day. So it was in June. And we were at my aunt's house, and my mom was like, hey, I scheduled a doctor's appointment this week. We're going to go. Dad's going to come with us. And because my dad moved back to New York at that point as well. He was clean, but they weren't together, but he was clean. So it was like, Dad's going to come, and we're going to go and just check some stuff out, make sure you're good. And I was like, okay. I don't know why. No idea. So I remember that day so well. Because, again, it's like one of those things where you have a moment in your life that completely changes everything. And if this moment didn't happen, honestly, would I be sitting here today? I really don't know. Because I was getting to the point where I was awake at night with such a bad ache in my chest because my heart was beating so hard that I thought that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. And that's a problem. But again, I had no idea why. I thought I was in great shape. And I think back and I'm like, wow, I couldn't lift any weight because I was so weak. All I could do was just jump around, and like I was probably so close to injuring myself and so close to, honestly, just so close to death at that point. I had really no will to live. The only thing that I lived for was being able to do these workouts and restrict my food. I mean, I was barely able to get through the last bit of that freshman year of college because I was getting to the point where I was so sick. And then, like I said, my mom said, okay, we're going to go to the doctor. And we drove out to Long Island. We went to LIJ, which is a hospital out there. The hospitals in Rockaway suck. So if you want to go to the hospital, you got to go like away from Rockaway. So it was maybe like an hour drive. And the whole time I was just thinking like, I wonder why we're going here. Like, I hope everything's good. And when we went into the building, we were following the signs to go to, what I thought was just a primary care doctor's appointment. And we went into this thing that said eating disorder clinic. And I was like, where the fuck are we? Like, what's happening? Now, back then I didn't curse quite as much, so I probably didn't say, where the fuck are we? I was probably like, okay, what's going on? We checked in, and we saw a doctor, and they said, this is an eating disorder outpatient program. Because your heart rate is above 40, it was like 43, you do not have to be admitted into the clinic. So you'll be an outpatient. And at the time, I was just like completely thrown off because I was like, this is dumb. I'm not like these girls. Like I saw other girls who were sitting in the waiting room and I'm like, I'm not these girls. This is ridiculous. I am not super skinny. I am not like, I at the point I was so self-conscious of myself. And I was like, I'm not these girls. Like they are so skinny. I am not like them. And they make you go to the bathroom every time you go into an eating disorder clinic before you get weighed in, because they want to make sure, I mean, I've done it before where, in the future where I would go in for weigh-ins, I would chug a ton of water, because when you drink a ton of water, you add weight to the scale. And if you're adding weight to the scale, then they won't make you eat more that week. And I started to manipulate the system, which thinking back, I think, wow, I was really sick, right? It wasn't just a control thing. And I went to the bathroom. They made sure I stripped down and just put the gown on to weigh myself, because they said a lot of girls put like fish hooks, like weights in their bra or in their underwear to add more weight. And I was like, this is wild. Like, where am I? And then I weighed myself. And literally, I remember that feeling. It felt like I got hit by a truck. It was like that feeling where all the wind gets knocked out of you. I stood on that scale and I thought there was something wrong with the scale, because it said 89 pounds. 89. And granted, I had eaten this morning. I had drank water. It was like noon. And I'm 5'6.5", 89 pounds. And the last time that I weighed myself, because the scale was like my biggest enemy, I didn't touch that thing, which is funny because some people who have eating disorders, they'll like religiously weigh themselves throughout the day, but I was just like, that thing, I don't want to touch it. Fucking freaks me out. The last time I weighed myself was a few months prior, and I was 120 something pounds. So I was like, oh, fuck. I remember just staring at that number and looking at my mom and just being like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea what I was doing. And no matter how annoying my mom can be sometimes, no matter how little common sense she has and how much she makes me laugh in that sense, she's a brilliant woman. She just has no common sense. It's actually very funny. But I could never be angry at her because she was there when everybody else left. She was watching me kill myself. Literally kill myself. And she couldn't do anything about it. And this was her thing, like, this is how I need to help you because you won't listen to anyone else. And so that was my moment. That was my enough is enough moment. Now, was it easy? No. Because I got off that scale and it started to hit me like, oh my God, I'm going to have to eat a lot of food and this is scary and I don't want to do this. Because I don't want to get fat. I don't want to gain weight. Right? It was terrifying to me. And still to this day, it's a terrifying thing. Like, I'm 122 pounds right now, but right now I'm in a gaining season where I'm trying to gain weight intentionally to be stronger and to be more competitive as a CrossFit athlete. That's fucking terrifying for me. Fucking terrifying. Because I've lived in this state where I want to take up as little space as possible for so long. But right now I'm in a state where I'm embracing this discomfort because I know that this discomfort will change my life because with discomfort comes growth. So when I stepped off that scale and they gave me a food plan, which honestly, like, geez, can we please get help for the nutritionists who work in these clinics? Because every food plan that I've seen that comes out of that is so terrible. And a lot of the times it's like, we know we need to eat, but there's something going on up here that's making us not want to. So they just really forced me to eat. And I remember going from having like that scoop of protein and half a banana to having like a full-on smoothie filled with all this shit and then like a meal. And I was like, I can't eat this much. And I was tracking in MyFitnessPal, my macros at the time. So shout out to the OG MyFitnessPal. I was eating like 400 to 600 calories a day leading up into this. And they wanted me to go to like 26, 28, 3,000 calories a day. And I was like, hold up, I can't do that. But it's wild what you can do when you actually want so desperately to get better. I remember the weeks after this were the most difficult weeks of my life. They felt like each day was like 15 days wrapped in one. I wasn't allowed to work out. I was like, my mom had to literally monitor every meal that I had. And I remember just one day, just like looking out the bedroom of my grandma's house and just crying because I was like, I can't do this. But I did. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who are in a state right now where maybe you're to that point where you're crying and you're looking out the window and you're like, I fucking can't do this. This is too hard. I can't. This is too uncomfortable. This is scary. I don't want to do it. But you know that if you did do it, that it could potentially open up so many opportunities for you and it could change your life and it could give you the life that you want. It could actually create the happiness that you're after. Because we're all after happiness and you create it. But you create it through taking action. And the things that terrify you are the things that you really need to lean into the most. So it was the most difficult thing that I've ever had to do in my life. And I don't think anything will overcome that. I've had a lot of challenging moments since, a lot. But I don't think anything could compare to that. You know, what I'm going through right now as far as like really embracing not doing as much conditioning and doing a lot more strength work and eating more. It's kind of terrifying. Like I said, it's very uncomfortable. And I have moments where like I literally just cry. Luckily I have Stone and he's like my comfort, right? So like a hug makes me feel better. But that's why it's so important to have a support system that doesn't sugarcoat shit for you. A support system that actually pushes you and supports you when you need it. Because the reality is we need to be pushed. And if you want to grow in your life and you don't want to stay the same and you don't want to go backwards, you have to get uncomfortable. And that looks different for everybody. So whatever that is for you, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I want you to know that no matter how uncomfortable and scary something seems, you can do it. You can. If I was able to come out of that, from standing on a scale, 89 pounds, to being able to say that I'm training to be a competitive CrossFit athlete, and I'm a coach, I'm talking on a podcast when I can barely even talk to myself, you can do anything. The only thing that's holding you back is you. You're the only reason. So if something terrifies you, lean into that. Because on the other side of fear is everything that you want. And I can tell you that from experience, from myself, but also seeing clients do it themselves. So remember, the pain, the suffering, the challenge is all temporary. And you don't have to wait for the new year to start something. You can start right fucking now. Or you can wait till 2024. Up to you. Either way, take action and stay committed to that action. Keep the commitments that you make to yourself because you're never going to regret it you're never going to regret. I always fuck that up. It's my own quote too. You're never going to regret keeping a commitment to yourself, but you're always going to regret it if you don't. So, I hope you enjoyed this story. I'll share a lot more because there's a lot more defining moments where that one came from. And go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be. So on this episode of the podcast, I spoke a lot about taking action. And I spoke a lot about investing in yourself and making this the time that you actually make a difference and you change. And you don't have to wait for the new year. But like I said, a lot of people do because it's an excuse to get started. And I'm not a fan of New Year's resolutions, but I am a fan of you taking action to become a better version of yourself. So with that being said, Hidden Summit has launched, as of right now, December 19th, a 6-week Rise and Thrive challenge that starts on January 8th, and you can register right now. Now, here's the thing. You have to apply to be a part of this challenge. And there's a reason for that, because we want to take people who are serious about making a change. And all you have to do is click the link down below to register. You're going to get on a call where we're going to ask you, why are you here? And we're going to help you and we're going to guide you to create the plan that's going to get you from point A, where you're at currently, to point B, because we're going to break down that brick wall that's hiding the opportunity that's right in front of you. And we're going to support you along the way. We're going to give you everything that you need. Custom meal plan, daily workouts, access to all of our community calls so you can get the support and accountability that you need. And of course, you got to throw in some weekly prizes and giveaways because we want you guys to win some shit along the way and get recognized for your hard work. So it starts January 8th. All you have to do is click the link down below, register, fill out the form, and you're going to get on a call. And we're going to set you up with the plan that you need in order to be successful for the next 6 weeks. So if you guys have any questions, shoot me an email as always. But don't forget that this could be your opportunity to change your life, and nothing changes if nothing changes.